Hi, this is Whoosh, and this is the Geeks a Week podcast.
This is Paul.
This is Zach.
And I'm Andrew.
And in this podcast, we're going to be covering E3 Expo. Yay, it's finally here. All kinds of big games that won't come out for 2 years are going to be announced. Super pumped. Probably. So, the schedules are actually a bit different than what they normally are. Microsoft's usually was first on Monday. Theirs is actually on Sunday now. E3 is doing what they did last year with the EA Play. Theirs is actually Saturday at noon, I think it is.
So you mean to say EA is doing what they did last year?
Yes. EA is doing what they did last year. Microsoft is different, and then everybody else is following basically the same schedule, where Sony goes Monday evening after everybody else, so they can talk about how much better they are than everybody else, because they are. They're so much better than everybody else. So what, I guess, are you guys looking forward to anything being announced? Obviously, Microsoft. Theirs is actually going to be 2 hours this year. It's normally an hour and a half. Theirs is at least going to be close to 2 hours. They have 2 hours scheduled for it, and they have it set up for 2 hours on, I think it's Fuse, that they're going to be streaming it on broadcast TV. Obviously, they're going to be having it on Mixer. People have it on Twitch, YouTube, blah, blah, blah.
Well, they're not going to be having Halo 6 already, are they?
No, they've 343 has already said there's not going to be any mainline series Halo thing. They'll probably talk a little bit about some DLC for Halo Wars. I wouldn't be surprised, since obviously there's something coming. It's supposed to be story-based DLC, which based on the ending, I'm assuming there's going to be. But no, there's not going to be any mainline series Halo. I think what's going to be at least half of it, or very close to half of it's going to be about Scorpio. They've been hyping this up a lot in the last month and a half. They released a picture of the chip. Big deal. I don't care, because I'm not buying the chip. And if I get it, you'd be buying the whole box, so that does nothing for me. But they've been doing a lot of...
Won't even see the chip.
Right, exactly. Hopefully you won't. I mean, if you do, there's something wrong, because that means it's melted through the case and it doesn't work anymore.
Give it chip, Whoosh. Come on.
Anyways, so I'm sure that's going to be a big part of it. They'll probably have something about Crackdown 3. They announced that years ago, and it's supposed to be coming out this year. They've stated several times that it's still on track to come out this year. So
Red Dead was supposed to come out this year too.
Yeah, but Rockstar tends to have... Rockstar never releases in the winter. They always release their games in the spring. So I don't know why anybody thought it was actually going to come out like this fall. They've always released games in the spring.
They always delay their games as well.
That's true. It's almost like you go, oh, that's not going to come out then. Like, add 6 months to that, and then that's when it's going to happen.
Or if it's online heists, add like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Or more. I mean, how long have you been waiting so far?
For online heists, we've been able to play them for like 2 years now. So
No, were they going to add new ones though?
No, I don't think so.
I was under the impression they were going to.
They won't, because microtransactions. They don't want to make it easier to make money. They want to make it harder. They want you to buy the shark cards. They don't want you to... They don't want to give you content. They want to keep paying for the stuff that's already there. I mean, they'll occasionally add cars and stuff, but I can't imagine that's more than like an hour of someone's work.
Takes more than an hour to make an asset like that,
But when you already got something there, they probably just put a different skin over top of it. And then Bethesda, they moved theirs to Sunday at midnight, so I'm not going to be able to watch that. There's probably not going to be anything that I really care about in there. I mean, unless there's an Elder Scrolls 6 announcement, I don't give a shit.
Isn't there a new, like, in space game Bethesda's working on? It's basically Elder Scrolls with spaceships.
That's been the rumor, yeah. Starfield or Star Sight, something like that is what it's supposed to be called. Other than someone rumoring it like a year ago, there's been no announcement on it. Bethesda doesn't announce games until that year. So like they announced Fallout 4, I mean, and then it came out, that November. They announced the Skyrim Special Edition. It came out that October. So I would be very surprised if all we have is one person mentioning one leak, and it comes out this year. I think you would have heard more about it by now, if it was actually due out.
There's no hope for a Doom 2.
Oh, that might be one they announced a bit early. Because, they're obviously going to make a sequel to that, because it was a fantastic game, and it did fantastically well. Do you got something to say, Paul? Your guy, the dude keeps lighting up. Like you.
Oh, I'm clicking my mouse.
Oh.
Obviously, I know it's not coming out this year, but I'm really looking forward to footage of Kingdom Hearts 3.
They
in
said
production.
I didn't get to tell you.
In production for like 3 more years.
I didn't get to tell you, but they said it's at least 3 years away, like a month ago.
No, you told me, but
oh, did I?
I don't buy it. I want to send me the article.
Okay, I'll get it to you after we're done here.
All they have is like concept art pencil drawings to show.
No, they had footage from the game like 5 years ago or something ridiculous.
Yeah, and they had footage from Final Fantasy 15 a decade ago, and that just came out this November. So 10 years yet.
Freaking Square Enix.
It seems to be
press cameras this year.
No, they're not listed on the thing I have here. They don't have one. For those press conferences, like the big ones, I mean, it's big publishers. The console manufacturers, and then usually Ubisoft and EA always have one. I think that's basically it.
I think Square Enix did one year.
They did do one 2 years or 3 years ago. I remember it being a big deal, and I don't know if they probably didn't like it because it meant they had to actually show something. And since, they aren't doing anything, quotation marks, they aren't getting anything done, it's there's not a lot to show for it. Right. I do wonder what... Oh, sorry?
I disagree with you.
Why? You want to see a bunch of...
Agree with you.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought you were saying you disagree. I didn't get that.
Well, I mean, if there's no Halo 6, then I guess really the only thing I'm looking forward to is if this Battlefront 2 is going to be worth getting, because the first one was kind of somewhat of a disappointment as far as content.
Now, this hasn't been confirmed, but I'm assuming it actually will be at their thing tomorrow. Apparently, there's not going to be any DLC, like, paid. It's going to be free, like we're seeing this trend go to with microtransactions, which is fine. That's great. If it is...
That way the rich people can pay for everybody.
Well, it's that, and you look at, like, stuff like what happens with Battlefield. Or any online shooter thing, even Halo back before they gave it out for free. Some people would buy the map packs, like we would buy the map packs. And a decent number of people would. But most wouldn't. I haven't seen any numbers, but I'm sure based on the number of, the users that fall off, you have a vast majority of people that aren't buying these map packs. So now you have a shrinking pool of players as time goes on, that every time you release DLC, you're making it smaller. I mean, what is it? What was the last map pack for Halo 3? I honestly could probably count on my hands how many times I played maps on those. Because nobody had...
Halo 3 wasn't as big a problem because...
they had this
playlist that required them.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, in the general playlist, you
Reach
never
was
found
the one
them.
with the problem.
Yes. And I think
that's
kinda,
true.
And
I never remember playing DLC on Reach.
And it sucked because it's like, I gave you money. And in fact, I remember talking about it back. It's like, I gave you more money. You should care about me more than the people that haven't given you money. Why don't you give me what I want? But I like that this is... What?
It's a good argument.
It is. And I mean, I can understand where the people can't pay them. But it comes down to, okay, so you're paying, just even assuming you're getting Xbox Live Gold on sale, you're paying $40 a year for that. You bought the game. I'll just assume you got a half off because I'm nice like that. So you've now spent $70 on this. You can't spend another $10? Seriously, you can't spend another $10 or $15 for the map packs.
Obviously, I wouldn't be able to.
Well, that's because you're the dude. So... So I'm liking this trend here. We're seeing it with all kinds of stuff. Halo, obviously. What was the other big one that did it? Dang it. Battlefront 2, rumored. What else? What was the other big game that had free stuff?
Well, Overwatch does.
Overwatch, yes, thank you. Overwatch adds free stuff. I mean, GTA, they did add heists and stuff for free. You didn't have to pay for that. But not quite the same thing because it was sort of promised with the game. So it's a little bit different, but the concept is still the same. Isn't For Honor gonna just add the stuff for free with microtransactions? I haven't played it, and the game doesn't seem to be doing too well. Rainbow Six Siege, that's the one I was thinking of. All their content is added for free now. So it's definitely a trend, and hopefully it can stay for a while. At some point, the whole whale bubble, as I like to call it, is going to burst. And you're not going to have enough rich people to fund this.
Maybe by that time, normies will be more interested in paying for digital costumes.
Yeah, that's true. Rec packs. I don't know why you'd ever need to buy one. Like, for real. I mean, we have, even when we play Warzone, we always have way more weapons than what we need. So I wonder if they'll announce anything for that there. Well, they said there's not going to be a mainline Halo game, so never mind. Stupid statement, because it's not going to be there.
Kind of a legalese type of statement. No mainline game. Maybe they'll announce another Spartan Strike type of game.
That's what that or something like ODST. That would be pretty cool. Like you said, legalese. I think that's what they're going for with that. So they don't have to say Halo 6, which is weird because haven't the last few been announced like a year and a half before they come out? Like we had the Halo 4 teaser, and then we had the Halo 5 teaser like a year and a half before it came out.
Yeah, we've had some pretty big windows between.
So, and I mean, it's literally just like a 2-minute video. Like the one was just the Chief Synapse, like you're flowing through him, and then he's on the ship. And then there was one where he's walking in the desert, and he's got Cortana's little thingy, her chain that she goes in. So the teasers haven't really told us much about the game.
Kind of felt like that showed you the aftermath of Halo 5 more than anything.
Yeah, it did it. You're right. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know what they'll do with 6, because apparently Halo 4 was really successful, so it's not going to be a trilogy. It's going to be a saga, so we'll see what happens. I'll be really sad if Halo ever stops getting made, because then I won't really care about Xbox anymore.
Yeah, we could not become... We could be unloyal to the brand.
Just
PlayStation?
I mean, they technically have, a wider variety of games, unfortunately.
The Switch?
That's like, but Nintendo is just kind of taking the role of like the second console for the last couple generations now. Like their stuff's priced cheaper. They don't have the same number of, no one's buying a Switch to play Battlefield and COD. They buy it to play Mario and Zelda. So I think they've kind of...
Hopefully we get that DLC announcement at E3, because I'm kind of jonesing for hard mode.
Well, they might, because their whole presentation is supposed to be just about the Switch, so I'd be surprised if they didn't mention something like that. I'm sure they'll talk about the online functionality and the fact you got to pay for it.
Yeah, probably. Do you have to pay for like playing online or just downloading off the store too?
You can play for free right now. I think it's in September, October, and I'm sure they'll give like an exact date at the. It's not technically an E3 press conference, but it happens during E3, so same thing. I'm sure they'll give like an exact date there, but you would not be able to play online without paying. You should still be able to buy stuff, and you should still be able to download.
Well, it's just like Xbox Live.
Right, but the difference is Xbox Live works. Nintendo's that's.
What's your friend code?
Didn't they say that... What, Andrew?
I haven't heard anything bad about Switch's online services yet.
Because it doesn't exist. No one's played it because they only have Breath of the Wild, so...
Yeah, Mario Kart.
Oh, Mario Kart.
Oh.
Isn't Splatoon's is probably going to be what they push their online content.
I think that comes
their
out
online
this
gaming the most.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of like their big push to get that in there.
Which I hope they have more than just that announced for new games, because it really doesn't. You're right, it doesn't have anything besides the Breath of the Wild, really, and a couple of remakes.
There's been rumors of Metroid,
which I hope is true, and maybe that'll be one on the Switch and one on the 3DS, but we'll see how that pans out, I guess. I would like Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, it'd be great.
But
Metroid Prime's one of the best games ever.
It will probably be a remake of the trilogy.
Why do you say that?
Just the remake trend Nintendo's been going down.
It's good for some games, but I think they really overdid it lately.
I'd like a remake of the trilogy too, I guess.
I just feel like
I'd rather have a new one though.
like waiting for the Breath of the Wild. You know, instead of working on that even more, it's like, oh well, HD remake Wind Waker and HD remake Twilight Princess, which isn't that old.
Money, get that cash flow.
Yeah.
So how many open world games do you think are going to come out this E3?
How many like new ones are going to announce? Does Crackdown 3 count? Because that's obviously open world. Red Dead 2 is already been announced.
But probably show a lot. Far Cry 5 there.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's probably going to have some gameplay for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Ubisoft does. And they'll probably give a release date for, South Park The Fractured Butthole. No, I hear it's funny because you hear people saying the fractured butthole, but I'm assuming that Trey and Matt want you to say the fractured butthole. So.
Well, yeah, obviously. So, what about Far Cry 5? I haven't watched the trailer yet.
I haven't watched the trailer. I'm kind of excited. Obviously, I'm not going to be picking it up right at launch. I usually wait a bit, but I like. Yeah. I mean, people can rag on Ubisoft all they want, and deservedly so. They've had some problems, but they push a lot of boundaries with stuff. I mean, Assassin's Creed was a pretty big deal at the time. Far Cry Primal was a huge risk. I mean, you play as a guy who can use bows, arrows, and spears and clubs. Compared to other games, and you can shoot guns and stuff, and they still made it fun. They have the Watch Dogs, which is, I don't know if it's controversial for what you do, but it does kind of shed some light on sort of a surveillance society that we live in and sort of make it how apparent it is. So, I mean, they do push boundaries with the stuff they do. Obviously, they have issues. You know, towers, buggy launches, stuff like that. But at least they're trying. And obviously, I'd like to see it get toned down a bit with sort of the sameness of the games. And we'll see, because it's been a while since we got Assassin's Creed games, so I'm sure that's going to be there. Sure, it will be open world, which is funny because it started out. Is there a term for like when there's open areas you can go in, but the whole area isn't available to you?
I heard semi-open world.
Yeah, I guess that could work.
It's the Metroidvania type of game.
Yeah, something like, because like the first one, you could go to the different cities, but the whole city wasn't available to you at one time. Even Assassin's Creed 2, I mean, Venice and Florence are big, but there's huge sections of the map. There's Tuscany you can't go to. Montenegroni is cut off, so you have the semi-open world game, and they've just been trending to basically being completely open world. Obviously, Unity is. Black Flag is. 3 was almost. There was the 2 areas, and then what was the place called? Not the cottage. What was it? The homestead.
Yeah.
So, but now it's completely open world, so you can just kind of see this trend, and I think people are doing that even for games that don't need it, because one, it's an easy way to pad stuff. Because look, find all the treasure chests, find all the messages in a bottle, kind of stuff that makes the game feel like there's more to do when it's just not real content, so to speak.
Yeah, they can bloat the hours of gameplay to make it sound better than what it actually is, just by having small things to collect.
And Assassin's Creed 2 Assassin's Creed wanted the flags, but then Assassin's Creed 2 had the feathers, and then you have the chests. And then Brotherhood, didn't they add something? Well, there's the glyphs, but that's kind of story based, so I can give them a pass on that. But it's happening in almost every game.
Brotherhood feathers too.
Yeah.
I think.
In Brotherhood?
Yeah, like 10 or so feathers.
Oh yeah, that's true. But again, they didn't add the 10 feathers to double the amount of gameplay stuff you can do in there. That's what they did with the 100 in Assassin's Creed 2. But no, it's a trend that it was cool for a while because it was new and it's always fun. I mean,
Well, I think more so, like, the trend is increasing because games aim to simulate reality to an extent, and the real world is open. And the technology exists now to do open world easily.
Only if you're white.
Previous generations.
No, I'm kidding.
Sure. In previous console generations, like, you had to make sacrifices to make an open world. But
Yeah, the graphics used to look kind of worse in large scale games, but yeah, now they don't have to compromise.
That's, I never even thought about that. That's a good point where you now have the ability to do this and have it look good. Like even, Elder Scrolls was open from the beginning, but you couldn't see very far. The detail on stuff was atrocious, even for the time, really. Elder Scrolls games have never been peak visual, but they've always had excellent open world stuff. And now, even Fallout 4, a lot of people complain about a lot of stuff about that, but the world was fun. It looked good, and there was a lot of stuff to do in it. They don't make a huge map and just say, oh, look, it's empty. Just Cause is a perfect example of that. It's a lot of emptiness. You're right, it's a huge map. It might be one of the biggest, but it's mostly empty.
Right.
Which is kind of sad because people say, oh, look, it's 16 square kilometers I can play in, but there's, 30 of it, or whatever. Well, not 30 of it, because obviously that's bigger than the map. But like 10 square kilometers of it is just a barren hill or some grass. There's nothing to do except run around. And it's not even really fun to move around in that game. With the
Just Cause?
In parts it is. But if you're sitting there, imagine you're trying to go across the map with just a parachute. It's not enjoyable. Obviously, we got some vehicles or something. But
I think they add the glider suit to make that a little more tolerable.
Yes.
Just going down hills or what have you.
Because now that I've figured out how to use it, it's much quicker to get across the map. Definitely than with just the parachute. The vehicles, I still don't like the way they handle, but...
Same thing with like the paraglider and shield surfing in Zelda.
Yeah, that's another one where they went open world too.
Well, Zelda's always, like even from the beginning, been as open world as games could be.
Yes, that's a good point. Again, getting back to the whole, they had to make sacrifices. Final Fantasy...
I thought Twilight Princess was kind of linear compared to other ones. They had the central open world around the castle or whatever, but the rest of the areas you go to, they felt narrow.
So now
there's almost.
So what about something like Pokemon? What was that? Did someone die? So like Pokemon, it's one of those. There's a term for it where it's not open world, but like there's the enemies or whatever have set levels. And then you can't, you'll get crushed.
Oh, it's like a progression.
Yeah, but there's a term for it.
With like it doesn't do level scaling.
Right, exactly. Where Elder Scrolls does. There's a term for the game, and I can't remember what it is now. And I guarantee you when we're done recording this, I will. Where you like Pokemon, it's open world once you beat it, but up until then, you're stuck in sort of this one area. As
you have a set path to go through.
Right, exactly. But then afterwards, it's open world, so I don't know. There's got to be a term for that. But that's another one where I wouldn't be surprised if... Well, the newer ones are kind of like that, to an extent.
A term for not level scaling?
No, like a term for... It's open world after a certain point. Where
it's like when a game has parts of the game in it that keep you out of certain areas until you get something or until you reach a certain level or until you progress the story.
Yeah.
There's got to be a term or something like that where it's open world basically after you beat it.
Like restricted.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I don't know.
But that's another one. I wonder how long that trend's going to last. Where we see just, oh, look, I wonder if there'll be an open world Halo game.
I get it.
Well, I would too, but...
Actually, if this new Metroid game is kind of open world the same way Breath of the Wild is, but you can just fly your Samus spaceship around, that would be really cool. So we can probably expect that 2019.
Well, they have to make a huge map for that to work.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get... obviously there's like Star Citizen and things like that where it is, or when it's done... It's going to be an open world that you fly in and things like that. But that's sort of a special case because that honestly might be the most expensive game ever made. Based on how much money they've made so far. It's absolutely absurd. They set a Kickstarter goal for, another $5 million and they meet it and they add another one. So I haven't checked to see what it's at, but it's got to be well north of $160 million. Now we're getting into like super big movie budget type stuff. for a game, which I'm excited for now that I got a new PC that I can actually play it on and not get 5 frames a second. Kind of exciting.
Well, I saw like a journalist do this piece about how Star Citizen's like basically a big scam.
Why?
Are they just going to take the money and run?
But they can't because there's already stuff out.
Like, no, it's just like their goals are not realistic.
But they've met a bunch of them already.
So they're just stretching the budget more and more and getting more and more money, and then like every time they ask for more money, they add more goals on top of it. So they'll never really be able to accomplish what they're trying to do. It's just gonna inflate forever.
Well,
they're not keeping up with. Yeah, I understand.
I get the point.
I mean, I saw the video a while ago, so I don't really remember it too well.
I get the point because there's been a lot of people that have been, oh, it's a scam, it's Kickstarter BS. But the difference with this is, one, there's already stuff that's playable. There are a whole, they're called modules right now, but there's a whole first-person shooter aspect to it. You can play that right now. Is it worth the maybe $100 or whatever people are paying for it? No. But it's a part of the game that's completely functional, that's essentially done aside from, being attached to everything else. And it works, and it's decently enjoyable. I haven't messed around with it a whole lot yet, but I haven't heard anything super negative about it. So it's not like they're taking the money and not actually doing anything with it. It's stuff is getting done. They're making things. But I can see what Andrew's saying or what the journalist was saying, where it's just, they constantly increase the goal. But I think they do that because why would someone donate money to something if they can't see, okay, what is this going to get me? I can't remember what the cheapest thing you can buy in for, but it's not terribly expensive. But if you spend more money, obviously that pushes them towards getting something else. I know a couple of them where they were going to add a couple extra star systems. So that gives you an incentive to buy into that because now okay, I helped them build or make this star system. So there's sort of a community aspect that gets involved. But we'll see depending on how long it takes.
That's a positive way to look at it, I guess.
It is. And again, I can see the sentiment of someone. I'm just excited for it because I like what I've been told I'll be able to do with it. If something happens where it doesn't work, I mean, I spent the money almost 4 years ago now, so it's basically out of my mind. I won't feel like I lost anything. It's not like when you go and buy a game and it's not in the case. It's a little bit different. You're mad then. With a cookie. If I put this in the Xbox, it'd probably break it. But yeah,
that's a weird reference.
I would hope people listening to this would get that. I really hope. If not, I should check. Does he still do those?
I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, I think he's retired from that or something.
Probably made all the money he's ever gonna. Oh, we got a bit off topic there. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
I was just wondering about the open world. Is there going to be like burnout from all this? Because it seems like half of the games coming out now are all marketed as just immersive, massive open world that always compares it to how big it is.
I think
versus like Skyrim.
Right. I think what we'll see. I mean, the genre is never going to go away. Something like Elder Scrolls or I mean, even GTA is fine. Continue to exist as an open world, but I think we'll stop seeing it getting shoehorned into everything, because there will be burnout. I think once VR really takes off, I mean, it's going to be a while. Seriously, you're probably talking 10 years before it becomes mainstream, in the same way that having a smartphone becomes mainstream. Like, literally everybody has one now. How long is it going to take for everybody to have a VR headset? A while.
It'll be a while since it's so expensive.
Well, that's what I mean. Once the prices things come down next decade or so, it starts, because I'm sure the Scorpio, they'll probably talk about their HoloLens project that they have. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think I read an article, and they're working on that, and it's going to be there at E3.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. That's another thing.
Because they had an impressive demonstration with it. Even was it last year? It might have been 2 years ago, even.
Yeah, the Minecraft demo and the Halo.
Yeah, I mean that was impressive, and haven't heard a thing since.
Well, that's not really VR. It's augmented reality.
But yeah. The concept is pretty close. But
I mean, it was still neat.
The problem with VR is, though, you're going to see people, okay, now we're getting into, like, 1440p gaming is becoming pretty normal. And then, obviously, 4K is next. You're going to need a beefy rig to do 4K VR. I don't think people are going to be okay with going from 4K down to 1080p for virtual reality. They're going to want the 4K with the virtual reality. And I don't know what the resolution it has to be for it to look real enough. Most of the stuff now is just kind of like tech demos almost.
Well, yeah. Is there any VR games that aren't?
I mean that... Oh, I don't know. If it's not a full-fledged game, never mind.
Aren't all the VR games right now just kind of small worlds of interactive?
Yeah.
I don't know,
basically proof of concept.
What about this Fallout VR? Is that going to be like a full game?
That's going to be Fallout 4. You're going to be able to play that in VR. Thing? So, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, though. Like, that's 1080p. That's fine. But once people... I mean, 4K TVs are going down in price all the time. Eventually, that's going to be the default standard.
The norm, yeah.
Right. So, it would be like, now imagine you saying, okay, you can have VR, but you have to play it in 480p. You're not gonna. You're not going to take that step down. Because it's going to look terrible.
Well, they're never going to be able to. It's just not technically possible to have a VR resolution as high as your highest possible standard resolution.
Well,
right, because it stretches it all around you. So your field of vision is actually a portion of the resolution, not the whole 4K.
It's a wide field of view, and it's also it's got to be 2 screens at least.
Right. So I don't think it'll, I mean, at least not within the 10 years be 4K, but people will probably be okay with like 1080p stepping down, but any lower than that. And it's got to be consistent, and I mean, most of the VR games don't look all that good right now. It's a lot of, the models and stuff they're just there. I mean, they're not the fully textured things that we have come to expect from games nowadays. So, and I wonder if that's going to be what pushes open world away, because it's going to be way easier to do a not open world.
Well, it's going to reset, and it's going to go back to not open world, and then once the technology catches up, eventually VR will turn into full-fledged, high-definition open world.
Oh, yeah. I've seen things where there's, like, rigs that you literally stand in and you walk around and stuff. That's going to be way... That's going to be a long time.
That's years. If that even ever becomes,
honestly, I wouldn't
standard.
be surprised if by the time that becomes available, that you'll literally just be able to plug into your brain and just simulate it before that stuff becomes, mainstream.
Yeah, because the big rigs with a treadmill and shit be feasible as a consumer product.
Right.
Well, I mean...
Right.
You'd have to have a room dedicated to VR, basically.
Well, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, this is talking 100, 200...
It's the same thought as putting an arcade box in your house. Like, back when arcades were the thing.
Right, you didn't do it now, or you didn't do it then.
Now you do it for nostalgia, or to, because it's a valuable...
But yeah, by the time it becomes viable, it's going to be where we're just plugging stuff in. We're talking 100+ years. And they'll probably be back on open world, like, for the 4th cycle. I wonder if there is any kind of trend. Like, right now we're sort of in, like, a first-person shooter moving into open world.
I feel it because Ghost Recon is open world now, right? And that never was before.
That's true. That's a perfect example of a genre that had...
And Destiny is obviously somewhat open world.
Well, I don't know what Destiny 2 is going to be like, but yeah, that's what I'm talking about with the segmented open world kind of thing, where there's areas that are completely open, but you can't access all of them, from anywhere. Like the Elder Scrolls, aside from like...
Recon games were like that. The other Ghost Recon games were like that.
Oh, really?
Like, they had very large maps that had, multiple viable routes and stuff.
Right, but what I'm talking about is, like, there was, like, level 1, level 2, level 3. You couldn't play level 3. I'm not just talking about them. I'm not just talking about the maps being big. I literally mean the ability to start the game and go anywhere. Basically right from the get-go. Whereas in there you go, okay, this is level 1. Level 1's big, but it's only level 1. And then you beat level 1, you go to level 2. And level 1 you can't get to. And you can't get to level 5 until you beat 2, 3, and 4. Completely cut off from them. No way to go from one to the other. That's a little bit different than what I'm talking about with the whole... I don't just mean open world in size. It doesn't have to be huge. Just as long as you can access it from anywhere. That's the trend that we're seeing. It's actually a cool thing about that. We're literally in like the middle of a transition in games. Where we go from, before we...
I would say that about any time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't have said it 5 years ago. That was full on. Everything was a first-person shooter. And that's all that was selling was first-person shooters. Everything had to be a shooter.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the open world trend.
Right, but I wouldn't say that we're in the middle of it.
Shooters.
The thing is, you don't see what the transition is going in. I mean, unless you're some savant or actually in the industry. Like the consumer, I'm not going to sit and say, okay, 15 years I can totally see sports games or something like that being the only thing that exists. No, you can't see, right? You can't see the transition until you're literally in the middle of it. So right now we're in the middle of the transition. I'd say depending on how things go, probably another 2 or 3 years, or maybe even next year, I'd say, okay, this is firmly in open world. Everything's open world. I won't know what the next one is until we start moving into it. Again, unless I'm some kind of game industry expert at that point. Which if I am, give me all your money and I'll invest it in stocks.
Unless open world's just going to keep going and get stale as we step further into VR.
They've just got to find new ways to make it interesting.
And by interesting,
avoid burnout.
We don't
find the first.
We don't just throw shit at it and say, "Oh, look, there's more things to do." That's not interesting. It's you got to have substance to it, because just throwing things to find and collect is not gonna work.
There's a lot of a make your own adventure kind of trend happening too, which they might.
Oh yeah, survival.
Maybe shy away from and kind of have things
the
be
Escapist
more driven.
or Battle Block Theater.
Yeah,
and that one's getting kind of old, but there's an Assassin's Creed.
I mean, like
coming
Minecraft
out.
Yeah.
Or Ark.
I think the survival one is working is big right now because it's open world. It's fairly easy to add features to keep people buying. And you don't really know when it's finished. I mean, look at Minecraft. It's been finished for years, but they're still adding to it. They're still changing features. I mean, there's been some big changes. Command block was added a couple years ago. That was a big deal. Jesus, what else have they added?
Just new items constantly.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking like big things that completely changed the game.
Battle mode.
Yeah, slime stuff, having sticky pistons. I mean, that just opened a whole new world of things that
pistons
you could build.
In general.
Yeah, pistons, sticky pistons. Yeah, I guess you can kind of lump them into one thing. I forgot about that. But yeah, that just completely opened up what you were able to do. Now you can have doors and things like that exist where you couldn't before. You couldn't have hidden doors. You'd see every door. So, it's this idea where, okay, and I mean, Minecraft is basically a survival game if you think about it. It's the same thing.
Survival mode is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're right. Well, that's the original mode. When I say Minecraft, that's what I think of. I don't think of creative. That's for cheating and artists.
Same thing.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with a couple good artists now and then. But yeah, it's going to be funny to see what's next. Because, again, you can't predict it before it happens. So no one... I mean, back when platformers were basically the only games, or collectathons. I mean, when platformers, collectathons, shooters. Who in 1990 said, all right, I bet you the next big genre is going to be shoot-em-ups. No one saw that.
Not shoot-em-ups.
Well, shooters, that's whatever. I guess, yeah, that's true.
Shoot-em-ups like Metal Slug and stuff.
Yeah. But again, just the fact that you can't see the transition occur while you're in it. You have to be, right smack dab in the middle. Go, oh yeah, this makes sense because now I see every game is doing this, and I mean, it's cool because if you like open world games, it's an excellent time to be alive. If you don't, sorry. You know, by the time we're out of it,
still into games.
Yeah. And MOBAs are taking off too, but competitive gaming in general is taking off as well, which is nice to see.
Oh, what's a stupid term?
MOBA? Well, yeah, we know how you feel about that. It's irrelevant. Faggots. And yet you play Heroes of the Storm.
It's a good one.
You like it because it's funny, and you're into toilet humor because you're immature.
No.
I
said Heroes.
Doesn't know what to say.
Come on, say what you gotta say.
I said Heroes of the Storm is fun.
Yeah.
Faggots is just more accurate than MOBA.
Well, yeah, MOBA is just a generic term, but that's what people call it. I mean, you just kind of got to live with it. That's the name of the genre. Collectathon, I think, is a stupid term for a genre, but that's what they are. I mean, that's a whole thing. I think it'd be better called Pick Up the Coins. Actually, I don't know what would be better to call them. I'm not.
What's wrong with Collectathon?
Because it doesn't tell you anything else about the game except for your collecting stuff. I mean, okay. Is it a dark game? Is it, do you have to solve puzzles or do you just pick stuff up? It doesn't tell you anything about it. Same thing.
Puzzles.
Usually, but not always. But you know what there is in a first-person shooter? First person and shooting. Tells you everything you need to know. MOBA doesn't. I can agree with that.
Is Far Cry Primal a first-person shooter?
What's first person? This is where you start getting into
world first-person melee game.
Yeah, but
with bows.
It's also got throwing in it. It's a first-person thrower because. Oh man, just let me some FPT. What's that stand for? First-person thrower.
That could be the new big thing. Is first-person blank. Just gotta be the first one to do it.
Things other than shooters, but still in first person.
I think
that would be cool.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe not the next Elder Scrolls, but the one after it is, a first-person open world, Bethesda RPG, which I'd be fine with. That's cool.
But aren't they already?
But it's not VR, and this would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You have the head, so it's literally you. Although that'd be weird though. To use controllers to move, and then you're watching this guy move hands, and they're supposed to be your hands. That's something that's going to be really odd. Unless they can get the tracking down, but then again, how are you going to do anything? You could reach in and turn a doorknob if you put a glove on. But how would you open up your inventory? You'd have to have a button somewhere. Or a voice command. Oh. Cortana, open up inventory. No, don't record that.
What the fuck?
No, but literally imagine, okay. So you want to play Elder Scrolls 7. Put on your VR headset. Put on your gloves. Okay, so how do you move? Okay, well just imagine you put on socks that track where your feet are going.
Maybe do like in Arizona Sunshine where you mime running with your hands.
No. Because your hands would have to do other stuff. That's how you'd swing your weapon and things like that. That would be cool. And it's certainly not impossible in the next decade or so to get technology to do that. But again, how do you go, okay, I need to use a potion? Do you try to grab it off your belt? What if the game tracks wrong and you want a potion, you pull out a bow, and you die? And you lose two... Huh?
Nothing.
Pull out a grenade?
Pull out your dick.
Oh. No, I wouldn't want to put a sleeve over that.
Well, no, I was thinking maybe if you just have tracking gloves and then you clip something to your belt that just has 5 or 6 buttons on it, or a couple of them that have 4 buttons on them. Or
dude, have you played Skyrim? Are you telling me that you only have 4 things in your quick select? Okay, first of all, you got to have 3 different healing spells. You got to have 2 or 3 potions. You need your weapon to gather souls. You need your ranged weapon. You need your two-handed weapon. You need your one-handed weapon. You need your Stones
of Baronziah.
Exactly. You don't have to have those equipped. You need to have different magic spells that you're just trying to boost while you're running around. You need to have your various... Huh?
Gotta have your shouts.
Gotta have your shouts. So.
Force and whirlwind sprint and.
Well, to use those, you just shout. You know, I guess we're never really going to get away from. You press a button to go into your menu, and then you can interact with your menu using the tracking.
Yeah, you could do so. I guess you could have buttons inside the glove, but you'd have to be really careful.
Like one button or two buttons, you know. One.
And how would you quit?
Button.
You know, how do you got to have the ability to quit the game.
You jump off the map. I don't know. Jump in a volcano.
You have to go to sleep in VR.
You can never take the headset off.
But now it's like Sword Art Online.
Oh.
I only watched like 6 episodes.
Watch too much. Paul, I told you to not even bother. Nice. Andrew, you were right. I was wrong.
Yeah.
But now there's another season.
No, there's not.
Should I finish it?
No.
There's been a season 2 for a long time.
Yeah, Paul, you're way behind.
And they're making a movie too.
Way behind.
There's a couple of games. No, it's not worth it. Don't watch it. It's terrible. It's just the concept is cool and they do nothing neat with it. Nothing about death or eternal life or anything like that, like you'd think they'd actually talk about. No, it's a fucking romance. That's terrible, by the way, because him and his sister end up just, yeah, it's weird. Stay away. Stay very far away. I'm serious.
I guess. I gotta catch up. Scientific railguns and magical indexes.
Scientific railguns. So maybe in like, all right, well we'll wrap up here by guessing what genre or what thing is going to take over sort of the next big thing. In VR, you can't say VR because that's not a genre. I am going to go ahead and guess that it is going to be any sort of no, because shooters have kind of already been a thing. Shoot. I don't know. Someone else go first, I guess, and I'll try to think of the description.
I think
it's obvious to me that survival games, once one actually gets completed, are going to be the next.
Oh, right. No. Yeah, kind of like a more realistic Minecraft.
Yeah.
You know, in a sense.
Exactly.
I see that. I can see that.
Okay. Paul?
You know, and that brings you that factor of realism, you know, sort of like VR.
What about you? Right. What do you think, Paul?
Well, I kind of agree with that now, but I think retro's died off. Retro has died off a little bit, but it's still there.
Retro's not a genre.
Well, the retro trend. So I think something either like a platformer or side-scrolling, kind of like Assassin's Creed China. I could see that. I mean, it's still going strong now, but I could see us if there's another factor to the game that can be brought in that nobody's seen before, that could take it back off again because it does have a retro sense to it.
I think maybe there'd be AAA retro games.
AAA retro games.
I think that's what I mean here when I talk about that. I mean like everybody is trying to make every game like this, even if it doesn't work. I think mine's going to be, it's almost going to be kind of like a cheating hybrid, but you're going to see if that's okay. It's where you have first person, but there's going to be a heavy role-playing progression mechanic. And I don't just mean, oh, look, find these 15 things to get this weapon. I mean, you're going to have to upgrade all kinds of stuff, like just deep ingrained into the game progression. But it's going to be a first-person based, much more linear kind of think like imagine if the Elder Scrolls had the same game system where you know you progress skills, but it was a 8-hour story in a first-person shooter campaign, something like that, where there's just a huge increase in progression without the game being stupid long.
So like Mass Effect, but shorter.
Something like that is a good example. Mass Effect is a good example. But with a bit less focus on the RPG elements, but keeping them heavily
not so complex. You know?
Imagine Halo.
Because like right now, Arc, it's if you really, really want to play every portion of the game, it's just way too much to learn.
Yeah, but I'm talking like imagine Halo, but you could go, okay, I'm gonna make the Chief be able to run slightly faster, and I'm gonna give him
BioShock is a good analogy.
Yes, BioShock is a good one. I'm thinking something a little bit shorter than that, but yes, that's a good example of something very, very similar to what I'm looking at or thinking about here. Obviously, with more progression options. I mean, just, you're full-on typical RPG, but now slap that inside of a first-person shooter or some sort of first-person element, because I think it will work great with VR. Now, Zach, you get to go. There's nothing left.
Well, I feel like maybe open world games might start having multiplayer more common in the next few years.
Oh, see, now that's
because
something that could be neat.
Wildlands kind of does that, I think. So
Ghost Recon.
Let's say, I mean, like a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and it's a Four Swords game, but the same kind of landscape and feel.
But imagine almost like an MMO, but not quite. I mean, I'm thinking something like Battlefield sized, but it's an open world where. Guess I'm trying to explain. How would you do that? Because I think I know what you're talking about, but that could be something that would be neat. Like not a huge number of players, but you're looking at maybe 80 to 100.
Well, the guys who did that one mod for DayZ or Rust or something,
Arma.
Yeah, I think they're making their own actual licensed game that is basically you drop with 100 people onto this continent or island, and you just see how long you can survive with them.
Right?
Yeah, I could definitely
what's it called?
see.
PlayerUnknown.
Oh, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
That might be it.
I wouldn't mind playing that, but I know you guys won't, or at least Andrew won't. So.
I would.
I just think the armor type gameplay is boring.
It's boring because you're thinking of doing it by yourself.
But it's the most streamed.
Yeah, if you're with.
But think
with
about GTA.
People?
What do you do in GTA? You drive around and sometimes you shoot people. Have you ever been bored doing that? No. Imagine all four of us playing that. That's the same thing.
Except we'd have to be good at it, otherwise it'd be frustrating.
Well, not really. I mean, you can still... I watched a guy streaming. He was terrible, but he was having a blast. He was getting pissed off at one of his teammates because he kept crashing. But it would be... I mean, it's literally like a competitive GTA with your bros.
But you won't even play that with your bros. I have to beg.
Because we've done it so many times, this would be new. And it'd be on PC, which is better.
Oh, Mr. Race. Huh?
Yeah.
Mustard Race.
Mustard Race. You're just jealous because...
Wish is gonna be pulling that card a lot now. They just got that new PC.
I know.
You guys are just jealous of my teraflops. It's all right.
Another good guess for the next genre would be hero shooters.
What's that?
Like Overwatch.
Oh, see, but I think the team-based one that just... Whenever Blizzard does a thing, that's kind of like the end of it. Because that's obviously peak whatever. You're never going to get another, hero-based shooter like that that's better than Overwatch, unless it's Overwatch 2.
Just like with WoW, everyone thought the next game was going to be a WoW killer, but then it never did.
It's still going. It is almost 13 years old now, and it's still the most subscribed to MMORPG. Granted, its numbers are way down, but it's still the biggest one. So I think ESO is probably pretty close now, but it helps because that's free. So I don't know what your definition of player is. Is it someone that logs in once a week or something like that? Obviously, it's easier with something that's subscription-based. You say, oh, wait, how many people are subscribing? But yeah, whatever it is Blizzard does, they perfect it. There aren't any other action RPGs because of Diablo. There aren't any other...
Well, there's some, but they don't have the same reach.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're never as popular. Blizzard just kills.
Same with RTS, I guess.
Yeah. Seriously, what else is there besides StarCraft?
Well, Blizzard will make Warcraft 4.
Maybe, but it's still Blizzard.
Halo Wars. No.
It's way too niche.
It's fun, but, yeah, niche.
Niche. Thank you.
Are we the only people who bought that?
No. Obviously not. We've played with people. The PC is dead, though. I tried to find a game on the PC. It didn't work. Just no one plays it. Which sucks because it's like you buy a digital copy, you get it on the PC as well. But I think people just don't have good PCs, so... Because they suck.
All right.
So, E3, as of filming, is tomorrow. I guess, well, it technically starts like Monday, I think, but press conferences start.
They'll do their
part of the show.
Yeah, pre-briefing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So I might check the EA one or wait and see what happens after. Obviously, someone will have it on YouTube, so.
I always watch them all.
Jesus Christ, he watches Sony. And he probably just yells at it.
I think Sony's always funny.
I wonder if they're going to be less cocky because obviously Xbox is trending up over the last couple years, and now they have sort of this. I mean, they came out with a PS4 Pro, but that's like a 15% upgrade. Hardly worth mentioning. You have the Xbox Scorpio, which is literally multiple Xboxes. In fact, they just announced yesterday they were able to free up another gigabyte of RAM. So now you're going to have 9 gigabytes of RAM dedicated, that the developers can use.
Right. Well, we've been on about an hour now, so.
This is a good length for us to have. Not too long to get bored, but not too short that you miss out on anything. I'm thumbs upping if you can't tell. Because this is good. All right. Peace out. You guys also have to say goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.
Goodbye. Till next time.
Next week.
We'll come back with reactions to E3 probably, right?
Yes, we
Definitely.
will. Definitely next week. We will definitely get that in there, and then we can speculate on,
how many more years until Kingdom Hearts?
That's what we should call it. How many years until Kingdom Hearts? Question mark. Because it's a great quick clickbait title.
There you go.
We're gonna have a thumbnail of like Paul on a whiteboard with his glasses on and like have a huge equation picking up the whole
little drawings of keyblades.
And then it could just be him shrugging.
The PS2, and then plus 15 years, and then me shrugging my shoulders with a question mark.